Okay. Okay, back to YouTube. Back to YouTube. Scratch all of that out of your head. We're locked in. We're watching this video for my dad. Today, we're watching insane conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. Also, hi YouTube. This is a 3D model. It might pop up occasionally. Hope you like it.
A secret government experiment turned animals into spies. A lie about food
I heard about this
created
one.
a global crisis, and powerful men were caught performing strange rituals in the woods. These stories sound like nonsense. Many people didn't believe them. Then the truth came out. Today we're diving into insane conspiracy theories that were true all along. We'll begin with the strange cases and work our way to the most shocking. Our goal, guys, is 2.5 million subscribers by the end of 2026, and it is crazy. So it would mean the world if you subscribe. I will do my very best to put out the best videos I can for you.
I'll do it on my main account.
Are awesome. The animal spy conspiracy.
I heard about
During
this.
the Cold War, the US and Soviet Union spied on each other. That's no secret, but there's one bizarre conspiracy theory from that period. People claimed the CIA tried to turn animals into spies. It sounded crazy.
I heard it didn't work because cats don't do what you tell them to. I think that's essentially what happens at this one, is that the cats, the Soviet spy dolphins. I have not, but I'll read about them some other time. Soviet spy dolphins. That seems like something they'd try.
But declassified documents proved it actually happened. In the early 1960s, being a CIA spy meant risking your...
Pigeons don't exist anymore, they're just government drones. The birds work for the bourgeoisie.
Life. Anyone caught spying in the Soviet Union could be executed. The CIA wanted to spy without putting agents in danger, so they came up with a strange idea. Stop relying on human agents. That was where cats came in. The CIA realized cats could go anywhere without drawing attention. That made them perfect spies, so the agency launched Project Acoustic Kitty. The goal was simple: turn a cat into a walking listening device. Surgeons would implant a microphone, a radio transmitter, and an antenna into the cat's body. The idea was that the cat would move near a target, the mic would capture the conversation, and the transmitter would send the audio to the CIA. On paper, it sounded smart. In real life, it was chaos. Implanting those devices into a living creature was tricky. It took months to figure out. One report said they made a monstrosity. At that point, it was time to train the cat. But a new problem came up. The cat was hard to control. During training, it kept wandering off and chasing birds. It also kept stopping to look for food. Even so, the agency decided the spy cat was ready. It was time for a real
Wait,
mission.
they actually tried it?
In 1967, the CIA released the
Wait, they actually sent... Wait, first of all, 6-7. Second of all, they actually sent them on missions. Oh, dear God. Oh, no. These poor kitties, by the way. These poor kitties had to go surgery, but 6-7.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Soviet embassy in Washington, D.C. Two men were sitting on a nearby park bench. Agents wanted the cat to get close enough to record the conversation. They released the cat. It stepped into the street. Then a taxi hit it. The mission was over before it even began. By then, the agency already spent about $20 million on the project. That's roughly $170 million today. But they decided to quietly shut it down. One memo said the project was not practical. However, the agency didn't give up on the idea of animal spies. Instead, they tried something even stranger. By the early 1970s, CIA engineers came up with a new plan. If real animals were too hard to control, they would build a machine that looked like one. That idea became the insectothopter. It was a tiny drone built to look like a dragonfly. It had a tiny engine that powered the wings. A microphone was hidden in the head, and operators could control it remotely. By 1976, the CIA had a working prototype.
No fucking way.
This is the first flight of the insect-sized unmanned aerial vehicle called Insectothopter.
There's no fucking way.
Flight tests were impressive.
The plan was for it to fly close to a target and record conversations. Once again, it didn't work well in real life. The drone was extremely light. That meant even a small breeze could push it off course. Agents struggled to keep it steady long enough to record anything useful. Eventually, the project was abandoned. The Acoustic Kitty...
I don't think it was fucking abandoned, bro. I think they kept fucking making it. I think they fucking are working on it still. I think the Insectocopter still exists. I don't think they gave up on it. I don't think they did. Also, hey, Tora. Hello. Hi. Hello. Hi. Totally not conspicuous to have a dragonfly hover 5 centimeters away from your face for 2 hours. Well, surely they would, like, land it somewhere.
and insectothopter projects remained classified for decades. People talked about them, but no one could confirm they were real. Then in the early 2000s, the CIA declassified some documents. That was when the truth finally became public. In 2003, the CIA put an insectothopter prototype on display in its museum. The company in our next chapter secretly did something to millions of their own customers and didn't tell anyone. The Batterygate conspiracy. For years, iPhone users...
This one's true. I know it fucking is. Oh my god, bro. I know for a damn fact this one's true. You wanna know why? Because I've seen it with my own fucking eyeballs. I've seen it with my own goddamn fucking eyeballs. My fucking battery being amazing. And then all of a sudden, it's like shit. Fucking dies in fucking 10 seconds. I've seen it. The little slight bulb conspiracy, which is also true. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Whenever Apple released a new iPhone, the older models seemed to get slower. Many
This is
users
true.
believed Apple was doing this on purpose to push them to buy
They
the
were.
latest iPhone. People thought this theory was crazy, and if you believed it, you were just paranoid.
Nuh-uh.
Then in 2017, something happened, and suddenly you didn't seem so crazy after all. That year, Apple released a software update called iOS 10.2.1. After users installed it, complaints started pouring in. Users with older iPhones said their batteries were acting strangely. A phone might show a 30% battery, then suddenly drop to 1%.
This happened to me.
Seconds later, the phone would shut down. People complained all over social media. They were confused, frustrated, and demanded answers. But Apple didn't respond. So one man decided to look into it himself. John Poole was a software developer. He noticed that people were complaining about their iPhones. His wife was one of them.
My wife just offhand mentioned that her iPhone 6S felt slow, and the numbers that we got out of it were significantly lower than what I'd expect from a phone like that.
Poole knew enough about phones to analyze the situation.
It was sort of a eureka moment, and that's what prompted me to really take a deep dive into
Oh my
our
God,
database of,
imagine.
performance data and see what was
Imagine if this guy
He
didn't
ran
look into
performance
it.
tests on older iPhones and compared the results to newer ones. What he found was hard to ignore. Older iPhones running newer versions of iOS had lower performance scores, but it was only happening to phones with older batteries. After analyzing everything, he reached one unsettling conclusion. Apple was deliberately slowing down older iPhones. Poole published his findings on his blog on December 2017. Millions read it and they were furious. For the first time, the old joke about Apple slowing phones down didn't feel like a joke anymore. Now Apple had to answer for it. Just 2 days after Poole's blog went viral, Apple released a statement.
Apple confirms it slows down the performance of older iPhones to
Yeah,
reduce
fuck you
power
guys.
demand.
The company
Fuck
admitted
you
it was
guys.
slowing down
I
older
fucking knew
phones,
you were
but it
doing
said there
it.
was a good reason for
I
it. As iPhones
knew
get
it.
older, so do their batteries. Older batteries can't handle power the way they used to. If an older battery is pushed too hard, the phone might shut down or crash. To prevent that from happening, Apple added software that reduced the processor speed on older models. But that explanation didn't calm customers down.
No, that
The
pisses
problem
me off. Why
wasn't
would you do
just
that
the
then?
slowdown. The problem was that Apple kept it hidden. Soon, lawsuits began piling up.
So far, 2 lawsuits have been filed in Los Angeles and Illinois, claiming those suing never consented to allow Apple to slow their older
Exactly.
Apple was sued in the US, Canada, Israel, and several European countries. Attorneys said Apple acted deceptively by hiding the
did.
shutdown and slowdown issues. In 2020, Apple agreed to settle the lawsuits. The company reportedly paid about $500 million. Every iPhone user included in the lawsuit received a little less than $100. But as part of the deal, Apple did not admit to breaking any laws or any other wrongdoing. Today, Apple's more transparent about battery performance. The company also added a new feature that shows battery health. Up next is the story
I'd be looking at
of
that
a
battery
product
health thing, I'm not
that
gonna lie.
millions of people bought without knowing it was a death trap. The Ford Pinto conspiracy. The Ford Pinto is remembered as one of the most dangerous cars ever.
Huh?
A small crash could make it burst into flames. Many people ended up in the emergency room. The conspiracy theory was that Ford themselves knew the cars were going to explode, but they hid that information and sold it anyway. That was a serious accusation, but the truth was even worse. In the 1960s,
There's a
the
car
Ford
that
Motor
just
Company was in
explodes?
trouble. Other car companies were selling smaller, cheaper vehicles, and Ford needed something that could compete. So the CEO told engineers to build a car that was cheap, small,
This reminds me of when that guy went on an airplane and his like Samsung Galaxy ring swelled up and tried to explode on his finger. Gas tank in the trunk? If it was rear-ended. Me when CEO says do this. Okay, it's gonna explode though.
And fuel efficient.
The
Those
Irish
targets were difficult.
The Irish loved these, bro. So this guy knows ball. Colonel does know ball when it comes to the Irish and things exploding.
But not impossible. The real problem was time. Designing a new car normally took 43 months. Ford engineers were given only 25. That deadline forced them to rush the design process. The result was the Ford Pinto. Eventually, it was time for crash testing, which is standard for any new car. Engineers wanted to see what would happen if the Pinto crashed. When the Pinto was hit from behind, the gas tank ruptured. Fuel spilled, sparks flew, and then boom, the Pinto burst into flames. Ford crash tested the car over 40 times. The same problem occurred. When the Pinto was rear-ended, the car caught fire. The problem came from the car's design. Engineers placed the gas tank right behind the rear bumper. Despite the obvious danger, Ford moved ahead with production. Thousands of Pintos were built and sold. It was an
just don't get rear-ended.
When I bought my Pinto, I figured it was a good value, but I didn't know how good until my dad started borrowing it. So I ended up buying my own.
Then I bought one, and I bought one,
and I bought one.
Millions of Americans.
I hate that ad. That's so scary.
They had no idea they were getting into a death trap. Not long after the Pinto hit the road, the disaster
low-key every
began.
car's a death trap.
Drivers reported the same terrifying pattern. Another car would hit them from behind. Then the Pinto would burst into flames. It happened again and again. Too often to be a coincidence. Some victims began to ask, did Ford already know this could happen? Ford said there was no problem. The Pinto met all safety standards. Even so, some victims filed lawsuits. Those cases went to trial in the mid-1970s, and the Pinto case became a national story. As the trial got more attention, one reporter decided to dig deeper. He got access to Ford's internal company records.
Oh my god, he's gonna bust the case wide open.
Showed that Ford engineers already knew the car could explode, but that wasn't the worst part. Once the accidents began, Ford had another chance to act. The company thought about recalling every Pinto and fixing the issue, but executives felt it would be too expensive. Recalling and fixing every Pinto would cost $137 million. They estimated that settling victims' lawsuits would cost about $50 million. So the company
did the math on lives, bro.
Get hurt. In September 1977, the reporter went public with his findings. His article was titled Pinto Madness. TV networks, newspapers picked up the story. Now the conspiracy theory no longer sounded crazy. Ford knew the car was dangerous and sold it anyway. In total, 117 families sued Ford over the Pinto.
Happens more than you think. It still shouldn't happen. A company shouldn't be able to look and be like, oh, fixing the product would be more expensive than just paying out the fucking insurance claims. What? What? Why? Oh. It's not right. It's not right. $50 million is not.
The company paid more than $100 million to settle the cases. In June 1978, Ford finally recalled 1.5 million Ford Pintos.
They recalled them! They recalled them! They recalled the fucking Pintos! Have you ever watched Veritasium videos? I have not. They had station wagons with rear-facing seats that people would usually put their kids in. I can see why they might think to do that, but if you learn about like physics or something, you can see why it's not a good idea.
Engineers made the necessary changes to prevent explosions. No one knows exactly how many people passed away in Pinto fires. Some estimates put the number in the hundreds. Others say it was much lower. But whatever the true number was, it was far too many. Up next is the story of an industry that quietly rewrote the rules of nutrition, and millions of people paid the price.
Oh my god, I've heard about this.
The Big Sugar Conspiracy.
Big sugar!
Years, doctors said eating fatty foods caused heart disease, but some scientists believed the wrong food was getting blamed. To them, sugar was the real danger. As they dug deeper, they uncovered a dark
sugar is evil
to bury the truth. It involved bribes, intimidation, and even fake research. In the late 1950s, thousands of Americans were passing away from heart attacks. Doctors and researchers were trying to figure out why. In 1965, a nutritionist suggested that too much sugar might be the reason.
He started to wonder, late in the 1950s whether sugar might be a culprit in the increase in heart disease.
The sugar industry was alarmed by that theory. Americans were consuming more sugar than ever before. It was in soft drinks, candy, and desserts. If the public blamed sugar for heart disease, the industry could lose billions. To protect their business, they needed to shift the blame, and they knew exactly how to do it. There was a group called the Sugar Research Foundation. It was dedicated to the scientific study of sugar's role in food. On the surface, the group looked neutral and trustworthy, but behind the scenes, it was run by people who made money selling sugar.
No!
They wanted people to keep eating sugar even if it was harming their health. So in July 1965, the Sugar Research Foundation contacted a researcher at Harvard
What? Sugar is
University.
bad
They
for
asked
you? Well, okay. What he's gonna go into is that they blamed that like fat and like oil is worse for you than sugar is, right? They're gonna be like, oh, sugar like isn't as bad as fat though, as long as you're not eating super oily foods. Wrong! 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 Anything in large amounts is bad for you. Cuddling my cat in large amounts is amazing for me. I love cuddling my cat in large amounts. Because when he purrs, he lowers my stress level. My cortisol goes down. I'm going to mog everybody with my low cortisol levels. See that jawline? Dare you to eat 20 bananas in one go. I don't think I will. Sounds like I'm going to die from when you eat too much potassium. Is it like a heart attack? Do you get a heart attack? Too much potassium, heart attack. Something like that. Like too many apples. Apple seeds? Cyanide, bro.
him to write a study on the cause of heart disease, but there was a catch. The paper needed to downplay the dangers of sugar and shift the blame to fatty foods. The foundation paid the researcher tens of thousands of dollars. Back then, scientists didn't have to reveal who funded their work, so the public never knew about the deal. In 1967, the Harvard researcher published his paper. It said that cutting fat out of your diet was the best way to avoid heart disease. And because the study came from Harvard, people trusted it. Almost no one knew that the sugar industry paid for this study. Sugar executives were thrilled.
The bitter truth.
Even wrote to the researcher, "Let me assure you, this is quite what we had in mind." Over time, the idea that fatty foods alone caused
They're
heart
just as
disease
bad as
became
Umbrella for
widely
Resident
accepted.
Evil.
A few years later, the US government released dietary guidelines. It told Americans to cut back on saturated fat, especially red meat. Many people followed that advice without cutting.
Don't you cut out all that red meat, bro. Steak is so good. Don't you cut it out unless you don't want to eat meat. I respect your decisions.
Sugar. Many Americans switched to low-fat products. Food companies advertised low-fat yogurt, snacks, and dessert.
Would do it right.
Hard to believe it's got less fat.
But many of these low-fat foods had extra sugar for flavor, so people ended up consuming even more sugar than before. Over time, the health problems worsened. That confused a lot of doctors. Some scientists questioned the old research on fat and sugar, but there was still no proof that the study was manipulated. It took nearly 50 years for the truth to come out. In 2009, a researcher was studying the history of nutrition science. Her name was Kristen Kearns. While going through Harvard records, she found letters between Harvard researchers and the Sugar Research Foundation.
The first folder that I pulled out opened up to a memo, the blue letterhead of the Sugar Association.
The Sugar Association.
Those letters proved that the sugar industry funded the research and probably influenced the results. In September 2016, Kearns published what she found. It shocked the world.
New this morning, Bay Area researchers are accusing the sugar industry of some unsavory behavior.
Believe me,
I would have reworded that. Accusing the sugar industry of some unsweet behavior or some What's a we can rework this title. We can rework unsavory still works. We can make it worse. We can make it worse. We can make it worse. The sugar industry of being awfully salty. Hi, Ken. Hello. Hi. Hello. Hi.
I've been reading this for the past
souring.
Like,
souring.
What did you think? We shaped our notion.
Spicy. No, I think souring. I think we're going with souring. All right. Accusing the sugar industry of Sugar industry souring medical research. Yes. Souring the results. Yes. Yes, we're cooking. We're cooking. See, this took like what, 30 seconds? Souring the trust between people, science, and foods. Oh, yes. Today we find a news report showing the sugar industry is accused of souring the trust between people, science, and foods. Let's learn more over on Channel 2. Cinema, bro. Cinema.
Of healthy diets for decades on this. Don't ever eat fat, sugar, no problem.
By then, the researchers who wrote the paper were no longer alive, but the Sugar Research Foundation still existed. It now went by a new name, the Sugar Association. When people confronted the group, it denied doing anything wrong. It admitted it funded the research, but insisted it didn't influence the results. Even so, it was too late to undo the damage. For decades, people ate foods packed with sugar, and many paid the price with their health. That was a lie that lasted 50 years, all because the sugar industry wanted to protect their profits.
The sugar hitman got them. And this is why people say Americans are fat, because their fucking corporations are lying to us. They're paying researchers to fake their results. They're paying people to keep America fat and eating sugar. Because the corporations are lying to us, and the birds work for the bourgeoisie. Found with clear plastic baggies of a white crystalline substance. Tastes sweet. Must be sugar. That's what conspiracists have been saying, but y'all don't want to listen. Hey, don't include me in this. Don't include me in this. Hey, don't include me in this. Don't say y'all. Don't include me in this.
Chapter is about a secret military operation so unbelievable, the government denied it ever happened. The weather control conspiracy.
Oh my god, I heard about this one too!
Anyone say that the government can control the weather? It sounds like the kind of thing only paranoid people would believe, but that idea didn't come from nowhere. In the 1960s, the United States was fighting in Vietnam, but the war wasn't going well. One major problem was the Vietnamese army's supply network. Their soldiers had secret roads running through the jungle. They used these routes.
They had tunnels, bro.
Weapons and troops. As long as supply routes.
Hi, Blitz. Hello. Hi. Bro. They had tunnels and shit. What were they supposed to do?
Stayed open, it was much harder for the US to win. The US wanted to shut them down, but there were too many hidden roads to find and block. Then the military noticed something. Whenever heavy rain fell, the roads turned into mud. Trucks got stuck and people struggled to move through it. That made moving supplies much harder for Vietnamese forces. That gave the US an idea. If they could make it rain all the time, the enemy would have a much harder time moving supplies through the jungle. Controlling the weather sounded like science fiction, but the government had a reason to believe it was possible. Years earlier, a chemist named Vincent Schaefer ran some weather experiments. Schaefer flew over New York and dropped 3 pounds of dry ice into a cloud. Within minutes, the cloud began producing snow. He called it cloud seeding, and it proved that humans might be able to influence the weather. During the Vietnam War, the military decided to try it. It was called Operation Popeye.
The goal of Operation Popeye was...
That's killing me, Steven, that you mentioned cloud seeding, and then you... And then he immediately talks about cloud seeding. That's so funny. Me, when I disregard physics and just put more water in the air. Well, aren't clouds, like, they're just water, right? Clouds are just water, and when the cloud gets super heavy, that's when it drops the water. Depending on physics and what's going on with the atmosphere levels. If cloud warm and ground warm, it's rain. If cloud warm and ground cold, fuck, is it sleet? I don't know. I don't remember. Rain fireworks in China? Oh. Stop hydrating me! Thank you, Goj. I'll drink water.
Do it! Just do it!
Rain fireworks. Clouds have boobs in my view. What? I'm not doing that one. Hitora, I'm scamming you. I'm not drinking that water.
to extend the monsoon season and create an inordinate amount of rainfall by seeding clouds.
Air Force planes were loaded with canisters
Open the
of
door
silver
or I'm
iodide.
gonna throw rocks through your windows.
Meh. I don't know. I feel like the problem.
Do it!
But if you close your emotional damage, emotional damage, emotional damage, emotional damage.
It's my stream. I have the right to scam you. I have the right to scam you of your channel points in my stream. I have the right. Also, Miracle Leap, thank you for the follow. Hope you enjoy your stay as a blood bite. Don't worry. I don't normally scam people. I don't normally scam people. These guys are just being really annoying today. E. I love your YouTube reactions and please scam people more. Yeah! Yeah! This is why alerts are turned off most of the time during vids. Yeah. Stop trying to get me to stretch. I don't need to stretch. I fucking was standing not too long ago. Scares me all the time by banning me. Bro, you haven't been banned once. You've just been timed out. We're going back to my conspiracy video.
The planes flew into storm clouds and released them. The silver iodide triggered more rainfall. The extra rain turned roads into mud. Some paths even flooded. Moving supplies became much harder for Vietnamese forces. The mission was a success. For 5 years, the US military kept doing it.
They flew over 2,600 missions from a period of 1966 to 1972.
And they kept the operation top secret. But secrets like that don't stay hidden forever.
This one isn't a conspiracy. Well, the thing is, they admit all of them at the end, right? They expose all of them, or like they post them all in the end and like say like, oh yeah, we were doing this. Yeah, these are all admitted conspiracies.
In 1971, a reporter of the Washington Post exposed the operation. He revealed how the military was using the weather as a weapon.
What the fuck was the US government doing in the 1960s, by the way? These are all like taking place in like the 60s, bro.
Of war. The public was shocked. Lawmakers were angry that they were never informed. The defense secretary was called before Congress to explain himself, but he denied everything. He called the claims wild tales. That denial only made things worse because reporters kept digging. In July 1972, another reporter published a story in the New York Times. It was titled "Rainmaking is Used as Weapon by US."
This stream brought to you by
This time,
fucking.
the evidence was much stronger. The reporter had spoken with people involved in the operation. Now the story was no longer just a rumor. The defense secretary and military officials were summoned.
What makes you think they've stopped doing all of this? I don't know. I just think it's quite funny that this video, they're all taking place in the 60s and 70s. I know they're still up to shit, bro. They knew antiparasitics disrupt the pathways cancer uses in the 60s. Don't you think it's coincidence that every cancer researcher just dies, bro? They just randomly disappear. Don't take a... If you're researching cancer, don't take an airplane. I'm just saying.
To a secret Senate hearing. They were asked about the project again, and they finally admitted the truth.
Wait, did the dude who invented a mold that eats plastic? Is that who you're talking about, Skeven? Did he die already? Jesus. The guy who made a mold to eat plastic, was that, or is it a fungus? I think it was a fungus that eats plastic. Pretty sure he went missing. No! No! Our fungus eating plastic, bro. In 10, 20 years, we'll about the 80s and 90s. Oh, I'm sure we will. I can't wait for the 9/11 documents, bro.
Disturbing question. If one country could use weather as a weapon, what would happen if other countries did the same? It could destabilize the climate, disrupt food supply, and create other serious problems.
This is true.
World leaders didn't want that to happen. So by 1977, world leaders signed an agreement banning the use of weather as a weapon. Today, over 70 countries have signed that treaty.
Wait,
As
not
far as
everyone
we know,
signed
no
it?
country has weaponized the weather since. However, cloud seeding never stopped. It's still used for farming and weather-related needs. So the weather control conspiracy theory turned out to be true. The leader in our next chapter believed the government was his enemy, so he decided to destroy it from the inside. The Scientology conspiracy. The Church of Scientology has been accused of many things.
Oh my god, we're gonna learn about Scientology! Dog, I fucking hate Scientology.
Including being a cult, but one claim stood out from the rest. People said the church was doing illegal things to silence its enemies and manipulate the government. So were these conspiracy theories true? But to understand why millions of people believe this church is dangerous, we have to go back to where it all started. The Church of Scientology began in 1953. It was founded by a science fiction writer named L. Ron Hubbard. It said Scientology was a religion that could help people unlock their full potential.
Read Scientology, The Fundamentals of Thought by L. Ron Hubbard. Your search is over, but the adventure's just begun.
That message.
Yo, he was a science fiction writer. I never knew how Scientology started. I just knew it was really bad and some of the other details. I didn't know how it fucking started. There's no fucking way anyone can start a fucking cult, bro. Oh my God. There's no way a fucking science fiction writer was able to publish a religion. Oh, good God, bro.
Attracted thousands of followers. But as Scientology grew, so did the controversy around it. Former members accused the church of extortion and harassment. By the mid-1960s, the complaints were too many to ignore. The US government started investigating Scientology's internal practices, and what they found was troubling. Large amounts of church money were going straight to the founder, Hubbard. He was running it less like a religion and more like a business. So the government revoked Scientology's tax-exempt status. Other countries went even further.
The state of Victoria in Australia has passed a law making it a criminal offence for anyone to demand or receive payment for the pseudo-medical practice of Scientology.
Hubbard was furious. He believed the government was targeting him unfairly. He gave interviews defending Scientology.
Fuck you.
Why do they just fight it and say there's something bad, but they never specify what's bad? They haven't specified. For instance, right now they say we're breaking up marriages. Right, that's a lie.
But instead of fighting back in court, Hubbard came up with a much darker plan. He would attack the government from within. In 1973, Hubbard launched Operation Snow White. The mission was simple. Scientology wanted to infiltrate government offices and erase every damaging file about the church. To do that, Hubbard created a network of spies. They made Scientology members apply for jobs in government agencies. They targeted places like the IRS and the Department of Justice. Once they got hired, the spies searched for files on Scientology. Then they stole those files or destroyed them. Sometimes they swapped real records with fake ones that made the church look harmless. The operation was led by Hubbard's wife, Mary Sue.
There's no way her name's fucking Mary Sue. Her name is fucking Mary Sue. There's no fucking shot, bro. Mary fucking Sue herself, bro. Anyone who's read fanfiction knows what I'm talking about.
Become spies. They learned how to forge IDs and manipulate people. For 5 years, the plan worked. Scientology infiltrated 136 government agencies in 30 countries. But the church was not just stealing files. They were also going after anyone who criticized them. Hubbard kept a list of the church's enemies. Paulette Cooper was at the top of that list. In 1972, she published a book titled The Scandal of Scientology. It was one of the first books to openly criticize the church. Scientology church leaders hated her for it, so they decided to ruin her life.
They sued me 19 times all over the world, put me through 50 days of depositions. They sent a lot of horrible anonymous smear letters about me.
Then they decided to frame her for a crime.
They stole my stationery. They got my fingerprint on a piece of paper. And then they sent bomb threats to themselves.
Scientologists got a paper with Paulette's fingerprints. Then they used that paper
to
send device threats to their own church. After that, they reported the threats to the FBI themselves. To investigators, it looked like she was guilty. Paulette was arrested and charged. If convicted, she could spend years behind bars. The Scientologists were celebrating. However, their entire operation was about to fall apart. In May 1976, 2 Scientology spies broke into a courthouse in Washington, D.C. They were trying to steal more documents, but the plan failed. A security guard caught them using forged IDs. Federal agents traced those fake IDs back to Scientology. So in July 1977, FBI agents raided Scientology offices. They seized about 100,000 stolen government documents. They also uncovered files that exposed Operation Snow White.
Wait, they kept the files? They didn't destroy them all? They kept him? Don't mention a certain data center in Utah on X. Certain people track every time it's mentioned. Yikes. Yikes.
Files showed that Scientology framed Paulette Cooper too.
They found something that said along the line.
They saved her!
Conspired to frame
She's saved!
Miss Lovely, which was the code name that Hubbard gave to me.
11 high-ranking Scientology officials were convicted. Among them was Mary Sue, the wife of L.
Fuck
Ron
you,
Hubbard.
Mary
She was
Sue.
sentenced to 5 years behind
Only
bars.
5?
But one key figure avoided charges. L. Ron Hubbard himself.
Fuck you, Hubbard, bro.
Believed he directed the operation, but they could never prove it in court. After the convictions, Hubbard disappeared from public life. He spent the rest of his life paranoid and in hiding. Scientology still exists today, and it is still powerful. Its members include celebrities, lawmakers, and wealthy CEOs. Who knows how much more powerful it could have become if its spies stayed inside the government. This next chapter is about a secret club that most powerful people in the world don't want you to know about. The Secret Society Conspiracy.
Oh my god, wait.
You probably heard the theory that a secret group of rich and powerful men control the world, that they meet in private to decide wars, pick presidents, and shape major events. Most people brushed off this conspiracy theory as nonsense, but it turns out there's some truth to it. There's a forest in Northern California where powerful men really do meet in secret. Those men are members of the Bohemian Club. The club was formed in 1872 in San Francisco. At first, it was just a few dozen men talking about art, but over time, the club began
Shout out
to
to art.
change. Businessmen, lawyers, and politicians joined. Within a few decades, the Bohemian Club was no longer mainly about creativity. It was about power. In the 1890s, the club built a private camp.
Typical art club becomes, typical art club starts fucking... You know what? I think this person should be president. I think that'd be mad artistic.
Deep in the California redwoods. They called it Bohemian Grove. Every summer, members traveled there for a 2-week retreat. As the years passed, the guest list became more impressive. Multiple
Sorry, honey. I've got to go to my 2-week retreat with my bros in the Redwood Grove. We're going to our specific tree grove for just 2 weeks, honey. Don't worry. It's just men there, so we're gonna do manly things like. Sorry, I can't help but think of Brokeback Mountain in these moments.
U.S. presidents attended, but as the Grove got more powerful, it also became more exclusive and secretive.
You don't ask to join, they ask you. The whole thing is about excluding certain people, and other people get to go to this fancy retreat.
No one was allowed to take photographs. Journalists were banned from entering. Members followed one strict rule. What happened at Bohemian Grove stayed at Bohemian.
Oh, they were having sex.
Naturally, this made people suspicious. What were these powerful men doing in secret? For decades, no one on the outside really knew. Then one journalist managed to get in. In July 1989, a journalist named Philip Weiss got inside Bohemian Grove.
Hell
He
yeah!
planned to sneak in. But when he got there, security was much lighter than he expected, so he pretended to be a guest and stayed for 7 days. Weiss saw
7
celebrities,
days.
politicians, and business
I like that circle
executives.
table.
He heard discussions about major issues. It all seemed impressive. But on the first night, things went from impressive to bizarre. After dark, men in dark robes walked in a slow procession. They carried a coffin. Then they placed it in front of the statue of an elf. The statue was 40 feet tall. Then they set the coffin on fire.
What the
ceremony
fuck?
was called the cremation of care. Inside the coffin was a figure meant to represent the worries of everyday life. Burning it symbolized letting those worries go. When he got back to New York, Weiss wrote about what he saw. His article was published in Spy magazine, and it caused a sensation. For the first time, the public got a glimpse inside Bohemian Grove. The idea that world leaders were performing.
Is there just nothing to do at Endgame, bro? You get to fucking Endgame power and wealth, and you just start burning random coffins in front of statues and other horrible things. Like, do you just have nothing to do at Endgame, bro? I think if I was rich and powerful, I would have like a tennis coach that like I would never use, that I pay. Like, I'd be like, he'd just be on the courts all day waiting for me to like come play tennis, but I'd never come play tennis. That's the kind of shit I'd do if I was rich. Or like, I would have like a baker on call, and I'd be like, I want cupcakes, and they would make me cupcakes. Like what is... These people are not using their wealth and power correctly.
Rituals in the woods sounded unbelievable, but it was happening. Bohemian Grove still...
Actually, no, I think I would burn coffins in the woods with my friends. Just like, oh yeah, this symbolizes letting go of our past worries. And then we just burn the coffin together in front of a statue just to like... I think that's actually pretty reasonable. I think I would do that as a rich person.
operates
On the
every
low
summer,
end, we burn
members
pallets.
gather in the forest. Cameras are
Red
still
Bull
banned,
fountain!
Journalists aren't allowed to enter. And the same rule still applies. What happens at Bohemian Grove stays at Bohemian Grove. So was the conspiracy theory true? What we know for sure is that they really do meet at Bohemian Grove. What they discuss, however, remains a mystery. Are they deciding the fate of the world or just spending time with friends? Governments, corporations, powerful organizations, they all made the same bet that the story reaching you would be the one they wanted you to hear. My friends, the most dangerous thing you can do is trust without question.
Exactly.
Visual Venture.
Exactly.
Speaking of dangerous organizations,
Oh.
I have a video about cults still hiding in plain sight. Today, I talk about a cult leader who trapped her followers on an island, a 7-year-old who signed a billion-year contract, and a cult leader whose followers mummified her body after she passed away. Click here to watch it. Love you guys. Peace.
I'll watch that another time, but that sounds really fucking convincing, bro. That sounds really fucking convincing. Fucking A+. A+ video, man. I'm not so much into a dudes only club. Yeah, why is it a dudes only club? That's fucked up.